Now, circling back on your personal experience, you mentioned having gone through Northwestern as well as the mental preparation and all of this that goes into the professional transition of a tennis player. What about the influence of amateurism, and how does that potentially impact that transition? Because it sounds like, given events hosted by an external entity where purses are involved and endorsements are involved and things like that, that could add a whole nother layer that a traditional team sport athlete playing for Northwestern's football team, for example, may not have to deal with.
Yeah, so I mean, in tennis, it's easy to become a professional. You just accept the money that for your amateur status, right? So anyone can say I'm a professional tennis player. That just means that you're no longer an amateur. However, there are different layers. So we have what we call the World Tennis Tour, which is an ITF global tour for entry-level players trying to make it to the big leagues, if you will. So they have their pro circuit events. Total purse is like $15,000. That means if you win the tournament, you've won $1,000, right? Well, you had to travel, stay at a hotel, eat, etc. So you're not really making money there. It's really earning the points to get you to the next level of 25,000, to the next level of 50,000, 100,000, etc. You don't really, in my opinion, I didn't turn pro until I was in the main draw of the Australian Open in 1988. In 1987, I won the NCAAs in doubles. I knew everyone was saying, Kat, it's time, you need to go out on tour, etc. And in the summer times, I've been playing these tournaments, these challengers, earning points year over year. And the points only stay on for 52 rolling weeks. So every 52 weeks, whatever I earn this week rolls off the ranking. So I have to defend those points every year. But if I play a week this year that I didn't play last year, I'm adding points, right? Or if I lost in the first round last year and I win a tournament, I'm adding points. So therefore, my ranking is going up. After my sophomore year, I played the normal summer circuit, did well, my ranking was progressing. But I took the fall year off because we're on quarters. Took the fall year off at school with the permission of my coach and the athletic director. Said, let me play this fall as an amateur, which means I could only get reimbursed for my expenses, but I couldn't take over and above and beyond what it cost me to get to that tournament. But I could add the points. And if I like playing week after week outside of the summer and my ranking's going up, then I'll turn pro in January. I'll give you your scholarship back. But if I don't like it, I'm coming back in January. We'll never have this conversation again. I'll finish out, finish school. Well, I did really well. I got to 104 in the world, which is pretty darn good when you're an amateur. Got a direct entry into a Grand Slam. I said, okay, now it's time to turn pro, because this is the level that I want to be at. Grand Slam on the main WTA tour. Right. I didn't want to turn pro in the minor leagues, if you will, scraping and scrapping every week, because the pressures of winning, are the same. But if I'm up here, I have the ability to make more money to pay those expenses. If I'm just playing in the lower circuits and I'm making a few $100s a week, then I'm going to burn myself out mentally just as much as I am physically trying to get to the top. So it's a lot different than being in a team sport where you're drafted, you have a guaranteed salary, and then you can make your bonuses along the way.
Do you think that with the movement towards permission of name, image, and likeness endorsement deals and things like that in college sports, that would help in particular individual sports like a tennis or a golf?
I'm not sure if it's going to help tennis and golf. You can see where athletes have been fighting for this in the team sports like football and basketball in particular, because they are the revenue bearing sports. I'm still on the cusp here of actually agree with that. But part of it is, a lot of these cats are going to school and really not going to class because they could care less. They're just looking at it as another year or two that they can get by, to get better, to go into the draft and hopefully get drafted. If they don't, they've lost their opportunity to get a good education so that they could live a somewhat productive and successful life outside of sport. There's a small percentage of athletes that are able to turn pro and be drafted. On the flip side of that, I know that many of our athletes are coming from communities where they're just barely getting by. And just getting a college scholarship is not enough. You do need money while you're in school. You do
Right.
need to have extra cash to get something to eat when, when your cafeteria is closed, or just to go to the movies, or just to
Yeah.
be normal, or order pizza late at night. And many of these kids don't have those means to do that. So I totally get it. And I understand that these athletes are also the ones that are selling television and products for these institutions that are making all the money, and they should be rewarded in some form of fashion. I just don't know at what level that is. But I don't think it's going to help our tennis players and golfers and lacrosse and other sports like that. If the university is willing to share the pot with all student athletes, then okay. But that they're a long way from trying to figure out what that formula is. And but it's a different era today than we were 20
Right.
years ago when I was in school. But I do remember being in school. There were weeks that I'm like, hey, I can't order pizza. I can't go, to Burger King tonight.
Right.
I gotta eat what's in the dorms, or kind of piggyback on a fellow student.
So I think that's just a reality, with the majority of the environments that guys and girls are in college. And again, it's something that I think we just all have to work toward changing and fixing, so the athletes aren't in these situations.
Yeah.
And so just to wrap up, I believe it's next year you're going to be releasing a book, Own the Arena. I was curious as to, what it's about, what inspired it, and just in general, where people can also get more information.
Yeah, thank you. So it's called Own the Arena, Making a Difference and Succeeding While Being the Only One. And
I like that.
you can get where the only one is.
Yeah.
And it's really, hopefully, it will inspire people to follow their own passion and their own dream, to be able to realize that they belong at the table and in the room and in different arenas that will help them be successful, and to not be shy about voicing their opinions and their knowledge and sharing their knowledge, but also being able to understand that it takes patience, it takes time, it takes collaboration through various mediums to be able to succeed. It takes hard work, it takes a lot of preparation. And so I talk about using the things that I've learned through my sport from a child that is transferred over into business arenas and different meetings and spaces, how it may resonate with you in some form or fashion. So it was due out in July. It's now been postponed until March of next year due to COVID-19. Our summer of tennis is slowly pushing into the fall almost. And so those opportunities to be able to do book signings and talks have been diminished. And so hopefully next March, when we start up with the tournament in Indian Wells and Miami, et cetera, we bring the book out, and I'll be able to have more opportunities to go and meet and do book signings. But you can go to my website, KatrinaMAdams.com, to find the book, a link to the book there, or you could go to HarperCollinsPublishing.com or Amazon.com. Any book link, find it, and it'll be out now in March. But I am hoping to get those pre-sales up so that it can come out on the bestseller list. And I think it'll be an enjoyable read for everyone. It's for everyone. It's not just for athletes or business people. It's not just for women or people of color. I think everyone will be able to get something out of the book.
Nice. Good deal. Before we let you go, I ask the same couple questions to every guest. I tell people all the time I grew up in the 80s, and when I started to become aware of things, figuring out a morning routine was a big thing on the horizon. And just for our listening audience, if you have a morning routine, what that morning routine is, what are the first things you do in the morning to get your day going?
Right now, it's about coffee.
Okay.
It's right here.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's changed as I've gotten older. I am I like to work out in the morning, but with our gyms being closed now, why I ordered a Peloton, because I need to get a sweat in. My knees are bad, so I can't run. I do a lot of walking. I'll do some long walks, and I live in an area where it's kind of up and down, which is which is good. So it's giving me the strengthening and the endurance or cardio workout that I need. But, unfortunately, in the era of our digital devices, the first thing I do when I wake up is checking what text did I get overnight or in the morning, the emails, and I'm scrolling through to see what I need to respond to, if at all, so that I know how to get my day. But I like to have a to-do list. I check my phone at night to know if appointments I have.
Right.
I'll do my to-do list to try to go through that during the day and get going.
Good deal. And my final question, what I call a fail up moment. So where were you in your life, in your career, where something didn't go right for you? You didn't get the result or the outcome you wanted, but it didn't set you back. It actually sprung you forward. So where was that fail up moment? I typically find that people have these moments, people who have had experience and been through different channels of life have these fail up moments. And I think that we can all learn from them. So where was that moment for you?
No, absolutely. I would say for me, it's really transitioning from one career to the next. When I stopped competing, I stayed in the sport by being a national coach. So I was still in the same arena, the same environment, just wearing a different hat. But when that coaching position ended, our entire department was being restructured and we were all released. It was that aha moment, that wake up, to say, okay, what's next? And
right.
I literally threw my rackets in the closet for about 3 months, never touched them for 3 months because I've never had a break from going out. But I also had to say, okay, what's next for me? And that's where I had to fall back on the skill sets that I had and the knowledge that I had. Wanted to go into commentating. I studied communications at Northwestern University. And I set out on a journey to figure out how to get my foot in the door in that arena. It ended up being with the Tennis Channel when they flipped their switch to go on air in April of 2003. So I stopped coaching in October of 2002. The next few months tried to figure that out, had a meeting with them in late November of 2002 and got a call from them in April when they were ready to go. And that was my transition to the next profession, of which I'm still, on air and commentating. Right. So that was that fail up moment, I would say. I lost an opportunity and a job over here, but it made me take a deep breath, sit back, go inwardly, and figure out what it is that I really wanted to do so that I could move forward.
Good deal.
Thank you.
A lot of insight there.
Yeah, I'd say a common theme from this entire discussion has been the value of your education and never underestimating that. It sounds like you've had to rely on that component, whether it's transitioning from one career to the next or just in general from day to day. So I have one final question, then we'll let you go, Katrina, which is, we have the go-ahead from medical professionals. What are you most looking forward to doing post-coronavirus?
Going out to a restaurant and having a lovely meal and a beautiful glass of wine. Now, I haven't skipped on the glass of wine. Now, I would say I've learned a lot in these last 2 weeks of what I really like and what I don't like. But just, really just connecting with friends. And I live alone, and it's difficult. This is the way that I interact with people mostly. I am getting out more now. Having had the virus, recovered, have the antibodies, I'm a little more free. Have a little more freedom about at least getting out and about, going for these walks. And I even got to play golf this past weekend without fear, if you will. So I'm still making sure that I'm wearing my mask and gloves when I'm going into public places, because you still don't want to bring the germs back into your environment. But it's really just reconnecting with friends and, and having a great conversation, in person.
Right.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. We really appreciate it, Katrina. Again, for our viewers, be sure to check out Own the Arena in March 2021.
Pre-order. Look at
pre-order in the meantime.
Pre-order.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. It's been a great conversation, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thanks for having me. I enjoy the conversation, and thank you, Ricky, and thank you, David. Really appreciate being on here.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh.